Hello and welcome to UAT Time with Olivier Vedrine
and Sergey Velichanskiy. Today we'll talk about the EU-Ukraine association opportunities and how it will influence the Ukrainian civil society and economy in general.
The latest 2 years event started back when a former president of Ukraine, Viktor Yanukovych, refused to sign the EU-Ukraine Association Agreement, which led to what we now know as Maidan, and with other consequences like Putin's attack on freedom in Ukraine, like Crimea annexation and the war in Donbass. And since the association is signed by the new president, Petro Poroshenko, and is set to come into force on January 1st of 2016, there are many questions about this. In our show, UAT Time, together with Olivier Vedrine, we will be showing real Ukraine to the rest of the world since 2015. He is an expert member of the Academic Center of the Assembly of European Regions in Strasbourg, France. He is writing now a report about Ukraine for the Assembly of European Regions. He was visiting lecture in some universities in France, Ukraine, Russia, Germany, Poland, Canada, and in many other countries. Since June 2015, he is a member of the expert board of the Center for Army, Conversation and Disarmament Studies in Ukraine. He was the advisor for Ukraine of Henry Malossa, president of European Economic and Social Committee. Actually, that was because to protect him against Titushki. And he is my co-anchor in this show. Welcome. That's going to be an exciting time together. And as we all know, the ongoing conflict with Russia, which for decades had been a primary market for Ukrainian goods and services, has added a sense of urgency to the process of expanding into EU markets, creating a situation where thousands of Ukrainian companies are increasingly viewing trade with the European Union as the central component of their long-term business plans. And as I've read in the interview, you were speaking about significant financial assistance from the EU. And I'm talking about the interview in the Business in Ukraine magazine. Let's start with that. I mean, are there promises and what are we talking about?
You know, in this interview, I wanted to explain because I met a lot of businessmen in Ukraine. And a lot of them, they really do not know what is in this agreement. And they want to go to the EU market, but they don't know how to go to the EU market. Then my interview was to explain that. Okay, the agreement will provide to Ukraine that. You want to come, you have to do that. That's really was my goal.
Well, I want to first to find out this. In the interview, you were mentioning some figures, some numbers that the EU is ready to provide to assist the Ukrainian business to move into the EU market. What are we talking about?
Yeah, we talk about financial aid.
Yes.
And also in the agreement some help, like to decrease the tax for agricultural product from Ukraine to go to EU. And that's very important. For example, the agricultural sector is very important for Ukraine. And that's why the EU decreased the tax to help Ukraine to export to EU. And that's an example. But also we will provide a lot of help in the energy sector, in education sector, and that's very important. It's not only for company. We will also help to fight against corruption. We will also help and provide experts for the constitutions.
But that's where it becomes really interesting because as a typical Ukrainian, as I hear that European Union is ready to give, 400 million or something help or whatever, what's the numbers are?
We talk about for all the program, yeah?
Yes.
About 11 billion.
11 billion. You see, when we hear the sums like this, the numbers like this...
but you have also to add the World Bank, the IMF, and that's around 30, 35 billion. Yeah?
Well, that's quite a help. Okay, but I think that, for instance, as a typical Ukrainian, that the money will come to the government and disappear. You know, will it really help? Are there system of check? You know, how it's spent, is there a guarantee that this money will be used for the reforms, for the assistance to help our businesses to adapt for the EU market?
That's a good question. And the EU and Brussels really now take care about that. And that's why we are doing like an exchange. Money reforms. Money reforms. Mm-hmm. We will give money, you will do reforms. And the first reform is fight against corruption.
Okay.
And that's an exchange. We will not give all the money like that. We will give piece by piece of this amount, and we will take care about the reforms. If no reform, no money.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's convincing to me. As far as I know, January 1st, that's when the association agreement starts, comes into force. And basically the door of opportunities opens on January 1st, and the money assistance is going to be available, but there are some conditions. Mm-hmm. Well, that's what scares off a lot of local Ukrainian businesses. Mm-hmm. That's what why there are so many speculations about the EU, and that's what use the opposition of going to a European Union. The opposition is saying that the standards that the European Union has will kill the businesses, will kill you. Don't go there. Stay with us. Stay, in the east direction, not go to the west.
The opposition. The opposition was the government of Ukraine during years and years. Okay.
Yes.
They are guilty about the result now. They are guilty.
Okay.
If Ukraine now is like that, a poor country, is because those men did the worst for Ukraine.
Okay.
Now Ukraine is on the road to modernize the economy and its society. Please, they have to shut up. Mm-hmm. Because they are guilty about the result we are seeing now.
That's true. Well, that's, yeah.
Because of this bad result, you need 1 year to do the basic reform mm-hmm. to prepare the 1st of January 2016. Because of this result, you need this year.
Yeah.
Not because you are not ready, not because you do not want, but because of this bad result, because of this post-Soviet society.
Do you think there are some conclusions that the European Union and other institutions are making with in the light of recent developments with Greece? Mm-hmm. I mean, they have used a lot of assistance from the European Union, from the World Bank. And we know the referendum, so-called referendum or whatever, they had at this recently. Basically, they said, if I owe anything, I'll forgive you. So to say. Mm-hmm. They said they don't want to return anything.
Mm-hmm. That's a good question, because last week I did a press conference in the Ukraine Crisis Media Center about Greece. Okay. And I underlined 2 or 3 things. First, this is the result of a bad management. During more than 40 years, the Greek governments didn't take care about the real reform. That means they have an inefficient administration, corruption, and fraud. And that's the result. And we ask to this government to do the reforms, and they did nothing. And that's the result. But on other way, in my press conference, I underlined the fact that Putin also used this crisis against the European Union.
Yeah.
And as you know, Tsipras went to this Russian Davos in St. Petersburg.
Yes.
He talked with Putin, and Putin gave to him like a political help.
Yeah.
But that was against the European Union. And Greece is really playing now between, I think, between Putin and Brussels. And that's a very bad game. Because if tomorrow, you know, we will cut the help of the European Union, Russia cannot give money. Come on.
Yeah.
They don't have money.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's why the question was, I'm sure there are some corrections made in the structure of providing help, because I'm sure they don't want the same thing to happen with Ukraine, as they give a lot of money and assistance, and then the Ukrainian or some big wig in the government says, "Oh, we don't want anything more, from you. We don't owe you anything,
That's why I underline in my press conference that EU has to be very strict and say to Greece, stop to play.
Okay.
And I think this week the negotiation will be very, very hard. And I think really this referendum is very, very bad for Greece. And not for EU, because we can work without Greece in the Eurozone.
Well, yeah, especially as we know that they work till, what, 3 o'clock
Yeah.
in the afternoon. Well, let's come back to Ukraine, because, yes, we have a lot of issues that definitely to work on. And what I would like to ask you is, which sectors of the Ukrainian economy are best positioned to take advantage of the opportunities presented by the free trade dimension of the EU-Ukraine Association Agreement?
Oh, you have a lot of sectors. For example, agricultural sector.
Okay. Agricultural.
You have also raw material sectors, metallurgy sectors, energy sectors, and I can say aeronautic sectors with Antonov and
Okay.
And because you have a lot of Ukraine is really a rich country with a big potential. And because of a very, very, very bad administration, management, and former government, you lost a lot of things. But you have this potential. You have the civil society because of Maidan. You have the universities. You have the experts. You have the will to do something. And I hope nobody will cut this will. That's why now you're on the road. And for me, I am very optimistic maybe, but let's be optimistic.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you. Yeah, really, thank you for being optimistic about us. Because sometimes we are not that optimistic about us, because, being very active on the Facebook and talking with a lot of different people from different levels of society, the optimism and pessimism, they're kind of like, as day changes day, then the optimism changes, comes after pessimism, and then the pessimism comes after optimism. So it varies every day. In your quote, and basically this is what I want to quote you on your interview to the Business in Ukraine magazine, you said about agriculture, for example, Ukrainian exporters will save almost €500 million annually due to reduced EU import duties. Ukrainian agriculture will benefit from cuts in duties on agricultural and processed agricultural products of almost 400 million euros. That's your words. Basically, correct me if I'm wrong, but does it mean that EU is making benefits for the Ukrainian export, which is going to be the import for EU, and place them in a much more favorable situation than their own producers, their own farmers, their own agricultural players in that market?
Yes, we are doing an effort, yeah, really. We are doing an effort to help Ukraine in this sector.
All right.
Really, because for example, you have France. France is one of the biggest agricultural producers for EU. And we are doing now an effort. And this effort really is to help Ukraine.
Huh. Well, that means that it is an opportunity.
It's opportunity to help Ukraine because, you know, my country, France, we produce a lot of agricultural product. And, but our government did also this choice to help Ukraine.
Okay. Okay.
That's an effort.
But do you want to add anything about the standards? How possible it is for the Ukrainian business to really, you know, come up to the levels and to the standards that the EU has? You know, having in mind that for so many years we have operated, you know, pretty much the old Soviet standards for the quality, and the propaganda has used it in such a way that we all believe pretty much, and I, you know, still sometimes catch myself in the idea that, you know, I think in those trends that we have the best quality in everything. And so that's where, when it comes to the crowd, to the people, to the audience, we all think, you know, partially one half thinks, you know, why do we need to change? We've got it better than them.
Okay. Good question. For me, and like an expert, you have among those all those standards, you have take only two: quality and management.
Okay.
You have to increase your quality norms, because really the Soviet norms is really inefficient. And you know, this is like, okay, take an example. Soviet norms. See the difference between Lada and Mercedes. Yeah. You have Soviet norms, Zhiguli, and you have the EU norms, Mercedes.
Yeah.
It's an example. Another example. Everybody talk about EU remount. Nobody want to rescue remount or a Soviet remount. This is another example.
Actually, that is a good example, yes.
And management is also a key issue. You have authoritarian management, pyramidal management. That means only the boss can do everything and take the decision. And this is inefficient and competitive. And you know, more and more in US and in EU, we have horizontal management. Less and less difference between the chief and the employer. Less and less difference between the chief and the workers. Because we know that to be efficient, the information has to be everywhere. We have to share the information in the Russian management, in the Ukrainian management.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to share the information. The information is only for the boss.
Okay.
So it's really stupid, inefficient.
So there are
two examples.
Okay. Yeah. Well, so there are quite a few of changes that need to be played. But let me bring us to the final question that I have. But it's nonetheless one of the, to me, that's one of the most important questions. Once all the changes and the reforms are done, how do you get to the market? You mentioned about lobbying the interests of Ukrainian business in the institutions of European Union. How do you go about it? Just do you go on the internet just there? What's
No, that's a very problem of cultural management and cultural knowledge. Lobbying in EU is not like lobbying in Ukraine. That's mean lobbying in Ukraine is like you have some relatives, you know some person, and you give money, and they say, okay, I want this market, and okay, it's nothing, nothing for you like that. In EU, lobbying is really a process of influence in political decision.
okay?
That means if you want to have a part in this political decision in the EU, in Brussels, you have to influence. Influence is what? You have to know the right person, and you have to organize, for example, event, to organize a meeting, to show the Ukrainian product, but no bribes, no corruption.
Okay.
Because you only, this is like communication to influence the process and to have the market. And that's a very big difference with Ukraine attitude or Russian attitude, you know.
But the way I think is, first of all, yes, there are businesses, yes, those businesses that are able to comply with the standards of EU. Are there conferences or institutions that initiate the contact? You know, we know about the different chambers of commerce, you know, American, British, and some other countries. As far as I understand, they initiate things like this, you know, meetings, business meetings, network, and what do you suggest? Basically, we're talking right now to the European businessmen or those that are they can initiate the contact like this, because for a Ukrainian businessman, we don't just know who to go to, who will lobby my interests.
Yes, but all those organizations now is not enough. It's not enough. We have to do more. We have to explain more. Explain to the Ukrainian businessman and explain to the European businessman. Because really, when you see some European businessmen and when you talk about Ukraine to some European businessmen, this is like terra incognita, you know.
Yeah.
Terra incognita. They understand nothing about Ukraine mentality, you know. This is, wow, you have to explain everything.
Well, and I think that's why our show is gonna work.
Yeah.
That's why we
have to
this.
explain Ukraine to the rest of the world. What really happened in Ukraine, in the real Ukraine.
And I believe that's what we're going to do. There are many issues, tons of issues that we will discuss. I mean, we will talk about just the development of civil society.
Yeah.
We will just develop even the cultures, different
Even
cultures,
the cultures,
business
very
cultures.
important,
Yes,
very important
yes.
culture.
All right. Well, I think at this time we can believe and look for January 1st and get ready for it.
Yeah.
I think that's what we need to do.
Definitely.
Well, so let's sum up and say goodbye to our friends.
Goodbye.
Thank you for being with us. It was UAT time with Olivier Vedrine
and Sergey Velichanskiy. Stay with us and we will show you the real Ukraine.
Have a good day and see you soon.